Aries rising. How you doing, Aries? So this is your reading for the Pisces eclipse, which was a full moon. And this happened on the 17th or 18th of September, depending on where you live. Now, I just firstly want to apologize for the delay in getting this transit fully out. But there was a lot of eclipse stuff going on and time seemed to disappear. But I do work with 6-month cycles predominantly. So the messages that come through in these readings are going to serve you over the next 6 months that take you up to the Pisces new moon. What comes through in this will also have a mini level of completion with the Libra eclipse that will be the next lunation as well. Now, Aries, where I read for the rising signs. So for those of you who don't have Aries in the first house, look to the house that it does fall in. Look to the themes of that house, and you want to apply those themes along with all the other meaning you've got going on in the sign of Aries to the messages that come through in this reading. It will be as if that Aries energy, wherever it falls in your natal chart, has now energetically moved to the first house. So the astrology for the rising sign will still link in. You've just got to add on the meaning of your Aries energy on top of it. So, as always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. There's going to be 2 tarot piles. The first pile is going to be what is the most integrated and expansive. Oh, I hope you didn't see that. I'm trying to do this so they can't see. Most integrated and expansive intention of what this eclipse is all about. Now, this you sort of getting to the root energy of what's going on. It can help you then apply that perspective, that intention to whatever situations are showing up in your life in the Pisces area of your chart. So both the blessings and the challenges, and if you're a bit confused, zoom back to the intention and then you can see how that's showing up and how you want to work with it. Pile 2 is going to be, speaking of working with it, the tips and the tools to help elevate and expand even more and work and really facilitate and support the intention. There'll also be 2 oracle cards as well, which I will pull when I finish doing the tarot. So that's what's going on with that. Now let's get into the astrology. So for Aries rising, where is this happening for you? Well, it's happening in your 12th house, your hidden house, your house of mysteries. Now, the 12th house is a bit of a difficult house. It's like, it's the universe is a cosmic troll, right? So it's a very magical house. It's things going on behind the scenes. It's the unconscious spaces. And so often in those unconscious spaces are trauma responses and limiting beliefs, right? And so we've also got anxiety, depression, loss, grief, isolation when it comes to the 12th house. But underneath all of that good stuff is the magic of your soul. That Pisces energy is actually your core component when it comes to working with your soul. And as I said, it's a cosmic joke of the universe to put that underneath all of that difficult energy. So we spend our time pulling back the layers around those unconscious spaces to get to the clarity of truth of your own nature. So you had a full moon here, and this is also an eclipse, and so it is activating a new cycle that hasn't been here for 18 years and won't be here for another 18 years of the North Node being in Pisces. And so it's always a bigger energy showing up with eclipses. I've done a collective reading for it, and the astrology of this lunation is also very in alignment with the messages that came through in the Pluto in Capricorn transit series. Pluto is making harmonious aspects to Neptune and Uranus. The 3 outer planets are all in alignment and working in cahoots with one another. And this formation and the message behind it is locked into this full moon. So if you want a real deep dive on what this eclipse cycle in terms of this eclipse is all about, go check out the Pluto in Capricorn oracle reading. You might want to check out the Aries reading as well, because I'll talk about the houses that those 3 planets are turning up in. And then I will touch on the main core message with it in this reading. So if you don't have time, I completely understand that. And then there's a collective reading. That's always the first reading to come out. And this is where I break down the astrology of the lunation in way more detail, and to tap into the collective, most integrated and expansive intention. I also did a collective tarot reading, so many cups. It was beautiful, and channeled messages. Now, obviously, I'm going to touch on the major themes, but not go into a crazy amount of detail. And that you can find that one in the Pluto transit series in Capricorn, and then in the collective reading. Now, before I carry on with the astrology, I just want to let you know, so I always pull the oracle cards for the oracle reading before I start a transit, even though the oracle reading is often the last reading that I do. And there are two decks that I've used consistently through every lunation, and from those two decks came cards that have never come out in any reading I've done on this channel, and any client reading that I've done as well. And there's also a third deck that I've had more recently, but I've been using it constantly. One of the, I think the only card that hadn't ever come out of that deck came out of that deck as well. So 3 cards from 3 different decks that I use very often, that I haven't had come out on this channel or in client readings, have come out. So I just want to highlight that in terms of the significance of this eclipse. Because I've not had anything like that before on this channel. Right, so let's get back into the astrology. A full moon and eclipse in your 12th, right? So you may have found yourself wanting to be by yourself over that eclipse cycle, that eclipse time frame. You may have felt a lot of heaviness, a lot of weight, a lot of grief, a lot of anxiety, a lot of isolation, a lot of old trauma patterns bubbling to the surface in order to be released with this eclipse. So full moons mark completion energy. So it kind of implies an ending of a particular part of the cycle. And so with this full moon, it's been very apparent that a lot of the old networks, the old paradigms, the pathways that we walk bubble to the surface in order to be released. So as I said, sort of wounds around the unconscious spaces, not being able to tap into your magic, tap into that ease in those unconscious spaces, working through anxiety, depression, struggling with grief, maybe finding isolation a little bit much, and really finding, the 12th house is very personal to you, but can often feel very out of reach at the same time, and isn't always integrated with the rest of the chart. So that very sort of very non-rational, non-linear energy of Pisces, a very undulating, magical energy that involves, is at your core, but may not be very accessible to the, maybe just be going on behind the scenes constantly. And so this, you're going to have nodes. You've got the North Node in your sign. You know the score. It's going to be moving into that 12th house, and you're really going to be activating a higher level of understanding of what's going on in the 12th. I think that's amazing. I can't wait. I think that's going to be quite exciting for you, really getting the full magician energy show up. And so with that closing out of cycles, this full moon's going to be activating, how many have we got? Activating a level of higher integration around your capacity to engage in all of those themes, right? Because it's a difficult house. Now, one of the core messages that came through, oh, actually, wait, I didn't do the Pluto message. So in terms of the Pluto connection and what it's doing with Neptune and Uranus, Pluto is helping recalibrate and transform our rooted power, so we are able to magnetize and create from this place of power in alignment with the truth of reality. So Neptune's retrograde, Pluto's retrograde, Uranus is retrograde. That Neptune retrograde is pulling down the veil. Oh, just got a ringing in my ear as I say that. Pulling down the veil around our faith and trust in the magical reality, right? The unseen, the unknown, the non-rational, non-linear energy of Pisces. And it's all so Pluto's magnetizing our power to be able to work with this new reality in alignment with the liberation of our soul's path and our confidence and comfortability being our unique self. That's the Uranian energy, and they're all in harmonious aspect, and this is going to go on for a while. They're going to then do so in yang signs. Neptune's moving into your sign, Aries. And so this is the baseline, right? And so this is locked into the moon because the moon is conjunct Neptune and therefore involved in the sextiles that are going on, and by default the trine between Uranus and Pluto. And the other core message that came through in the collective reading was this moon is helping us be more intuitively connected, instinctively, to the crystalline grid. Now, the crystalline grid, for those of you who aren't aware of it, it is a grid work, energetic grid work system that is being activated but is building, it's strengthening, and it's the grid system that's part of our future consciousness, our elevation of consciousness, and it's more integrated and aligned, rather than repeating a lot of old cycles. So many of us inherently keep reconnecting back to denser cycles where we're essentially the hamster on the wheel, and just like over and over again when we've learned the lessons that we've needed to learn, and yet still it keeps showing up over and over again. And so this moon is really helping us get into an alignment where we're able to create Pluto, power, magnetized root energy in this new magical reality that serves our soul's liberation, and be very intuitively in alignment with the crystalline grid. And so that's happening in your 12th house as well as all over. The crystalline grid is not just linked to the 12th. And this is really helping instigate into your unconscious spaces this connection. So you may just find yourself unconsciously doing things. And so I would use a practice of being in observer mode with self and seeing what sort of, instinctive actions you're taking through your Aries energy that come from the 12th, that is in alignment with this activation. And that can be a really wonderful way of seeing where it's leading you and what's going on. Full moon and eclipse here can really, as I say, clear out wounds around blockages around accessing the magic of your soul and really heightening it, right? The very dreamlike, psychic, fluky energy of Pisces, the undulating ebb and flow of that great ocean. And because it's Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, the collective water sign, we're doing a great deal of healing around big collective emotional wounds as well. So you may have just had a lot of stuff bubbling to the surface. Now, as I said, this is strengthening your connection to the 12th, really harnessing a level of surrender and trust and being able to facilitate and have faith in how things are going to unfold, which is freeing up a lot of space and clearing out a lot of clutter in those unconscious responses that is going to bring into alignment. Now, Jupiter traditionally rules Pisces, so we want to look to where Jupiter is. And Jupiter is over in the sign of Gemini, squaring this energy and influencing it by rulership. So this is in your 3rd house of your day-to-day, how you find meaning in the day-to-day. It's the house of the goddess, and it is all about, as I say, your day-to-day practices, the lens in which you communicate through, and your environmental frequency, right? So this is the Gemini energy. The lens in which you communicate through is Gemini. I love the Jupiter and Gemini transit series. That was so much fun to do. If you haven't caught it, if you haven't watched it, I do recommend. You're not going to have Jupiter in this sign for another 12 years, and it's very playful and very curious. Jupiter's providing wisdom and elevation in understanding of how you find meaning in the day-to-day, and I think that's going to really help with clearing out some blockages in those unconscious spaces of being able to connect to this planet. Also an elevation in the way that you communicate, and it's squaring this energy, so it's being able to manifest and build with the communication with the magic of your soul. Oh, they like that one. What I'm really feeling is like a balm, and I know that's usually a word that I use for Venus, but it does feel like a balm on how you have flow in your day-to-day that is just giving you a bit more ease in your, on a regular habit of it, that is then going to help you be able to connect and see what's going on in the unconscious spaces from just a kind of a relief and an ease of spirit, a generosity of spirit that Jupiter's bringing to your day-to-day environment. Now, Mercury rules Gemini, so Mercury is influencing Jupiter and therefore influencing this moon. And where is Mercury? Well, it's in the sign of Virgo, where the sun is, and Vesta. It rules Virgo, and it is in fact exalted in Virgo, and that means its qualities are raised on high. It's the only planet to be exalted in its own sign. And so Mercury is ruling the whole chart by energy transfer, by rulership. And even though this is a Pisces moon, everything is being pulled back into Virgo. If you haven't caught the Virgo new moon, what came through in that is very helpful to apply to. It's going to all be part of the nodal shift that's happening in January. But having Mercury there in your 6th house, this is the adult in the room. This is work, how you figure things out, physical health routines, co-workers and pets. It's about co-creation and collaboration with that co-worker's energy. It's about stepping up to be the adult in the room. And facilitate your physical health, your needs, around, you know, basically supporting yourself and being a really good role model to yourself. Now, Mercury is pulling all of this very magical energy from your unconscious spaces into the very practical Virgo. And so what I see with this is you're getting a lot of clues, a lot of synchronicities, lots of ideas, inspirations, perspectives that are coming from that 12th house, from the magic of your soul, that is you're going to be able to apply it to the way that you work, right? And this is going to help facilitate releasing a lot of bonds and a lot of wounds around taking care of yourself, around really committing to your work, that you're instilling the magic of all of that Pisces energy into a very practical way with that Mercury over in your 6th house. So this is really going to do some deep physical healing, as well as emotional and unconscious healing, and obviously they work in tandem with one another. As I said, you're going to have lots of ideas, lots of possibilities of new avenues of the way that you work. You may get some downloads around what's the next step on your health routine or any other kind of routine, getting more inspirational ideas, and helping release anxiety and wounds around collaboration with co-workers and that kind of thing. Vesta's there as well. I am a big fan of Vesta. Wherever she is transitoring, she represents the inherent soul contract, the purity of that contract, the sacredness of that contract. And wherever she's moving through, she is clearing out the subcontracts that you don't need anymore, right? And it's really reorientating all of that energy that may be spread out in like a spider's web. Not spider's web. What's that? I'm trying to think, there's like a mind map thing where everything's all connected. It's all springing off the subcontracts. Just clearing up a lot of clutter in order to reorientate that energy back to the original contract around you being the adult in the room. Often we can get a lot of neglect here. Well, we can reiterate the neglect we may have faced in our early years by not being able to step up and be the adult in the room. So if you're suffering from that, I definitely see this whole shift that we're having with the nodes. It's really going to get you into gear and set you up. Yeah, definitely a lot of vision around the way that you work and any blockages that have stopped you from truly, as I say, stepping up and being the adult in the room for yourself, that have come from the unconscious spaces, as well as incorporating the whispers that you're getting from your soul. Ooh, that was a nice channel from the magic of your soul. It's very expressive. Okay, what else is going on in terms of the astrology? Well, we've got some cool stuff going on with Venus and Chiron in Libra and your sign Aries. So one thing I like about this, well, there's more than one thing, but the first thing I like about this is the fact that Venus is opposite Chiron at the time of this eclipse. And Venus rules Libra and therefore rules the South Node. So, and Aries, you know, Chiron's in Aries where the North Node is. And even though they're far away from the nodes themselves, they're still in the same houses, same signs as that. So this is re-bringing in the fact that the nodes are still in your sign Aries and in Libra, even though this is a Pisces eclipse, it's out of sign, but it's re-bringing it back into the overall theme of what we've been working with the Aries Libra axis. And so the one side that there can be themes with this aspect, right? They're in opposition with one another, and that can be a difficult aspect. That wounds around your independence, your sovereignty, the I am of it all, coming to the surface via the feminine energy in your life, whether that's you or the people around you or situations. Not sex specific, we all have it. And because in opposition they can feel really far apart, one can dominate over the other. And so there's just this sense of over the next 6 months there may be themes around this that show up that are bringing wounds to the surface in order for them to be transmuted. So just bear that in mind. That might not be for everybody. Ooh, tufala. I'm just going to go quiet for a second, and the energies that I channel are going to be itoelama dienima ot 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 dialima otuinima inima otuinima ela it inima. Ooh, Aries. Right, now shuffle the oracle cards. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, you might just find that there are wounds showing up around that. And now, Libra for you is opposite your sign, Aries. It's in the 7th house. And this is the house of the other. This is intimate relationships in your life, right? Business partners, one-to-one clients, your therapist, intimate friends, long-term committed romantic relationships, as well as your relationship with Source. So there may be some difficulties showing up in regards to when you're operating with the other that are part of the unconscious wounds that are being released by this eclipse. But obviously, after when we get released, then they're bubbling to the surface throughout the cycle to recalibrate. So there may be wounds with people on a one-to-one basis that just highlight where you might feel contained and restricted. And this is calling you to get into balance, really, right? Just trust and know that this is all helping you out, to really not let that affect you. To come to a level of deep understanding and compassion and empathy, because that is the intention of Pisces. It is very much everyone, or the all within the one and the one within the all. The other side of the Venus Chiron opposition is Chiron for me in Aries. And if you're regulars, you know I've talked about this before. Chiron in Aries just generally is Aries, you must know this, right? You are the first one out there. I've recently adopted 2 rescue cats. They're black cats. It's bizarre that they were hanging. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail. Anyway, I don't know their birthdays. I'm just observing their nature and trying to figure them out. One escaped for 5 weeks, and this was the one that was the curious explorer, like the first one to explore everything. She was with us for 3 days, and I would watch her and I was like, I am pretty sure she's a Yang rising sign. And then watching her even closer, it's like, I am pretty sure she's Aries, because she's so wanting to go and experience things through her own understanding. And it was just hilarious that she was the first one out, even though she was an escape artist, out into the world, out exploring. And I just sort of, there's this energy around that Chiron energy, you know, the master teacher, the wounded healer, is that wound that we are working through in Aries is not only in this lifetime, but many others and the ancestors, where we have been the first one to go do something, experience something. And that means going into the unknown. And that means not having all the answers and not really knowing whether we've got all the things that we need or got the skill set that we need and all of that. Then we may have suffered, we may have had a physical injury, or wounds, many other wounds that then have sort of diminished our capacity to be confident as we're going into new territory. And that's what Chiron's up to, is to help heal that wound and help find the wisdom in and learn the lessons that we've learned from previous experiences and bring it together as we go into new territory, which is what we're all collectively doing anyway. And that Venus energy is bringing things into balance. Is like a balm. She's soothing, she's connecting, she's finding a level of appreciation and value, and a balancing and a coming together of being able to reconnect to the desire to explore in that way, but coming from the Liberian axis of being objective and kind to yourself throughout that journey. So that's an overall energy, and you can see that in terms of the self and the other, right? Of you going into new territory of self, and healing the wounds with the other, so you're able to be in flow. Right, final oracle card. Dishani moyanama. Diani moyana. Dishani moyanama. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that's jogging my memory. Diani moyela ma die sheliana. You know, the other side of the Venus Chiron opposition is having the feminine energy in the other of your life, like helping heal the wounds of self. Okay, so it can be a flip. It can be them bringing the wound up so you can do the healing yourself, as well as getting a lot of support from the other in terms of the feminine energy to help you really understand yourself. So you may be, you know, the South Node in your 7th, there's a real refinement and a release of certain relationships, right? So you may have gone through that and also elevated what's already left now. So you may have some good energy around you in the 7th to help support. And again, those kind of relationships may have created great wounds that have been formatted in your unconscious spaces that get repeated. Okay, Aries. Let us begin. So, the most integrated and expansive intention of this eclipse for you, my loves. We have the King of Wands, the 7 of Wands, the 8 of Wands in the world, right? Big fire energy. This is Saturn. Saturn's in Pisces, so it's helping connect into that. But big fire, big fire. We've got the 3 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. I can't remember what's there. My brain memory dumps quite a lot. So this is the intention of the moon. We have the King of Wands. So the intention is to get you in your power, right? Get your instincts in alignment with the magic of your unconscious spaces, rather than the trauma, right? Because this is a king. They're very mature, they're very sovereign in their nature, right? They're not being diminished by external factors in a way that is activating trigger responses, okay? So there's a real sense of your passion, your drive, your motivation, your independence and sovereignty being activated with this cycle by releasing a lot of barriers and wounds and blockages in the 12th. And there's also your fire energy of your embodiment of self, of bringing the magic of your soul into your actions and deeds. But it is going to bring up the 7 of Wands. Now, I have a bit of a different spin on the 7 of Wands. This figure is on a cliff. They have the higher ground, right? They have something of value, but they are so unsteady. They don't really embody that knowing within themselves. They're kind of in competition mode, and they look really uneasy, even though they've got the higher ground. And so there's something that's coming up from the 12th. This is giving you the power to be able to be in awareness of this and then release it, that have blocked you from being very confident within yourself, right? And done a disservice where it's then you're perceiving everything as conflict. I mean, it's not surprising with the Aries energy. I'll go back to the cats. So I track them by the moon, and whenever the moon is in Aries, they are on mouse watch. They want to hunt and they want to fight. So it's a very inherent nature within us. You're ruled by Mars, right? And so there's an awareness around this of, how do I get into a space of loving yourself unconditionally to the point where you don't feel like you need to be in competition, right? You don't need to be in competition with the world anymore. And if we bring it into the 6th house of work and co-workers, of like releasing this sort of very independent energy that actually can go too far and do you a disservice, right? So this sense of you're doing it all by yourself and not in a state of co-creation. Because then it's followed by the 8. So it's showing a transition away from this, right? Bringing you into a state of alignment by being in observation of this and letting it flow through you into a stronger place of alignment where you're no longer in fight mode, right? Everything is more in flow mode. And this also can be you doing battle in your unconscious spaces as well. But because the king is first, it's setting you up with the power to be able to navigate this, right? Because this is one of the cards that I link into like an real core archetypal issue that we're all working through. is a fear mindset, a scarcity mindset, and also not loving ourselves as source does. And I do love the Eight of Wands. This is a Mercury card. It's Mercury in Sagittarius, which is your ninth house of perspectives. So you're going to be more in alignment with your perspectives through your actions that have come from a release in the unconscious spaces of blockages around that, right? The stuck energy. And then the world. Right, this is Saturn. My phrase for this card is know thyself and the world will open up to you. So there's a level of maturity and integration with this card that you're getting from the 12th that's feeding into the 1st. And this is since the more that we know ourselves, the more we peel back those layers, the more we get to our root energy, the less clutter we have in our energetic field. And that means that Source can co-create with us from our root energy rather than from all the confusing messages. And this opens up the world to possibilities. This is also the acknowledgement of Saturn in Pisces. Saturn loves being in the 12th house, by the way, of strengthening your capacity to work with that magic in the world, to have a level of sovereignty and integrity in that 12th house, that is just allowing you to be more in your power and be more open to that Piscean energy, right? Be more free with it. And then the Three of Wands at the bottom of the deck is implying embarking on a new journey, right? Unlike the Seven of Wands, this Three of Wands is also standing on the higher ground, but this is in fact the Sun in Aries, but they are incredibly confident about who they are and where they're at, and this is because they've done the best that they can, and they aren't worried about what's going to happen. They're not planning about the future and how the journey's going to unfold. They are just showing up in every moment, doing the best that they can, and that is freeing up a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, and bringing in a level of authority and sovereignty to the self. It's not about putting blaming other people. It's just like, I'm going to do the best that I can, and that is all that anyone can do. But it is symbolizing a new journey and a confident Sun in Aries journey in relationship to your 12th, right? So really feeling very solid in your foundations, in your unconscious spaces. That's allowing that to infiltrate in through your Aries energy as you embark in the material plane with that level of confidence. Now, how to work with this energy and amplify it? We have the 10 of Swords in reverse, the 8 of Swords in reverse, the Magician, and the 9 of Cups. Woo! Now, these are coming in reverse, but I did have a sensation while I switch off my conscious mind, while the energies were moving all the cards around, and they often put them in lots of different formations before finally coming to the final one. And the 10 of Swords and the 8 of Swords is very much about perspectives, and so a lot of perspectives, ideas, and words can come into the unconscious spaces that then limit us, right? This is more karmic energy of things from the past life energy, whatever it is, all along the spine where we store a lot of karma, things, ideas, perspectives immobilizing you. There's an element of betrayal, there's an element of restriction and limitation and a heaviness and a weight, right? 8 of Swords is trapped in a cage of your own making, right? You think you're trapped, but it's all an illusion. Everything's an illusion, even though everything is also real. So I just wanted to bring in those themes because they're coming in reverse of saying you want to focus on them being in reverse, and that often implies that they're currently in the upright, right? So not surprised with these coming up in the 12th house, but they are coming in reverse. And remember, we're stepping into the crystalline grid. So we're stepping into a new paradigm and a new way of connecting with Source, with the way that we manifest in the world. And so it's getting you to say, okay, be in awareness of what these are, and then visualize them falling away. Or even if you're not entirely sure what these are, because so often it can be very difficult to understand what's going on in the unconscious space because it's hidden. It's just maybe if you've got a tarot deck, have these cards and have them. I quite like this. I like this whole combination, to be honest. I would have them by your bed. Because the 12th house can often be about sleep time, right? And being isolated, of having this energy of them being in reverse as you're sleeping and going into the unconscious realms, of having these things fall away, right? Do whatever you feel called to do. And I love this. I mean, this combination is wild. With the magician, it's doubling down on the idea that the limitations are falling away, right? The magician is able to manifest and use everything around it as a resource to create magic in the world. It's also Mercury's card. You might want to look to where your Mercury is as well. That might give a clue about how to access and tap into this frequency that's more personal to you. But overall, this really is saying, this is essentially, you gotta hold the energy of knowing that you are the magician, and knowing that even these limitations and these wounds have served as resources. So we're not rejecting or shaming any of all of this, right? At all, in any way. We're honoring that path, but honoring the path that you as a magician are moving beyond it, right? And you're starting to work and cultivate with the 9 of Cups. So this can be about taking a daily habit with practicing the clearing out of that and activating the magician energy, calling on the magician and saying, I am open to receive the resources from any direction that serve my capacity to manifest in the world. We could see this of you taking action, you know, with that Jupiter in the day-to-day, right? Jupiter in the day-to-day 3rd house is like really being able to, through routine, through habit, through things you do on a day-to-day basis, find a great deal of wisdom. So there may be some very small ritualistic things that you do, habits that you do on the day-to-day that are going to be helping facilitate drawing in this energy of the clearing out of the limitations into the real world. You know, the magician is also as above, so below. So this is an awareness of the internal structures influencing the external, and the awareness of that. And when we put our awareness to something, as well as, you know, calling in the intention of clearing away that clutter. Remember, Vesta is helping realign your energy back to source. 9 of Cups. So with following the magician, this is helping you access a level of internal alignment, right? So for me, this is about feeling very confident, very abundant, very grateful for existing, right? When we tap into that joy space in the emotional body at the pure joy of existing, this then cultivates a level of satisfaction, right? So this is also a wish fulfillment card, right? Always a bit wary of saying that particular phrase, but there is focusing on the not focusing on the repeating cycles, being an awareness of them and doing work to help release them. But this is calling you to reorientate your perspective to this alignment energy, to the sense of feeling good within yourself and feeling satisfied. And this is just going to help with the framework of the alignment of your inner power and self-value. Now, what oracle cards have we got for you? We have the Horseman, Herald of Change, and Fire. And I chuckled when that came out. Which one first? Okay, so this is What We've Forgotten Oracle by Amy Miranda. All the decks are in the description box, by the way, if any of them take your fancy. And this is what we've forgotten that we need to bring to the table for this transit. Spirit is an artist. Do you know why it feels so good to sit around a campfire? Because we've been doing it since the beginning. We held rituals and connected in a circle around fires. Sometimes we burned our dead. Sometimes we simply used it to cook our food. Fire has been an asset to humans since we arrived on the planet. Fire was a key collaborator for the early alchemists. Heat is still a key component of modern science's transmutation process. Fire is a transformative element. It's fire that's used to transmute and thereby transform sand into glass. Without fire, we would not have glass or mirrors to be able to pass through the looking glass. Go down the rabbit hole. I mean, Alice in Wonderland is so Piscean in nature, where there's a level of the non-rational, right? And I love this fire coming through to bring into the Pisces energy. I feel like I love the combination of fire and water. It's very passionate and creative. But I like that it's saying you've got to honor yourself and your embodiment of self and be able to perceive yourself in the truth of spirit, right? That you are source, you are the spark of spirit. You have a lot of instinctive actions that are in alignment. And I want you to focus on bringing the water in of those unconscious spaces, asking for clarity for certain things, and then seeing what you're instinctively drawn to do that come from that Piscean energy by surrendering. Fire collaborates with us and brings us change in ritual. We burn plants for cleansing, we burn offerings for transformation and release, and we refer to the burning of bridges to exhibit boundaries. It is the most transformative element. Without air, it cannot exist. Without water, it is powerless. Without air, it cannot exist. With water, it is powerless. I don't necessarily agree with that, but on an energetics level anyway. It keeps us lit when we are in darkness and gives us warmth from the cold. This week, as you meditate on the element of fire, consider what fans your own flame. Where do you need to build a fire in your life? Spend some time around a fire or just visualize one in your mind. Look into the flame and stay present in what you see. Where might fire be able to bring you the art of transformation? So I talked a fair amount about ritual with Jupiter being in the 3rd house, and this has brought that in again, and it's brought in the element of fire, so it's helping add on an extra layer of, as well as the water, bringing in the fire in those rituals, in the way that you're perceiving, right? Perhaps using, writing down these things that are upright and then burning them and releasing them, as you are the magician, right? Doing your sort of rituals in every little way that you can, and then use the water to put the fire out. Right, final card, the Horseman, Herald of Change. When the Horseman appears, he's inviting you to spread the good news. Everyone already knows the bad news. Your task is to point out the beautiful when others see only the ugly. This is definitely in alignment with what they're calling you to do with this pile. Note the possible, no matter how implausible it may be. There's that Pisces energy and helping release the Virgoan energy of going, well, I can't see how it's going to happen, so it's not going to happen. We're getting out of that mindset. This does not mean becoming giddy or blindly optimistic, but rather reminding yourself that every storm cloud has a silver lining. Become a herald of the positive. Put away the fatalistic attitude, the dire predictions, the dreadful expectations about the world or your life. Declare the arrival of a new and better you. Proclaim that you have risen from the realms of the dead, woken from a long and dreadful slumber, and are back on the world stage. The show is on again. The Horseman cautions you not to allow your exuberance to become hollow or trivial. Be sure that there is a substance to the news you spread, and you are willing to live up to the expectations you raise. The world will welcome you with open arms as you share an uplifting message. Heed the Horseman when he shows up once, for he bears good news and is announcing a prosperous and peaceful time. And if you heed his warnings, all will turn out well. Again, it's sort of doing your best and seeing the positive in it rather than focusing on, oh, well, I didn't get that done. Well, maybe you didn't have time, right? So not self-flagellating. And then we've got lots of swords here of communication. So it's really helping, like, really focus on the way that we're communicating, the way that we're perceiving the world, and finding the good, finding the light in these things, in the silver linings, right? We're in eclipse cycles, so there's a lot of big shifts and changes. It's mutable energy, right? So it's going to be very adaptive. There is an element of going to the flow and realizing you are moving away from one perspective to another, right? Right, Aries, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this resonated. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, it would bring me great joy if you hit that like button. It really does make my day. Other than that, oh no, skipped a bit. If you want a personal reading, all my details are everywhere, perhaps to deep dive a bit further on this, on how it means for you, what it means for you personally. Aries, be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. Safe travels and be well until we meet again.